Looking at the smoothly run and extremely professional organisation that is the UFC today, it's hard to think that less than 25 years ago the sport didn't even exist. However, it's only when we take a look at just how raw, unorganised and downright dangerous the first ever UFC event was that we can truly realise just how far the organisation has come in such a short space of time. The original goal of the UFC was not to see who could combine martial arts to be the best fighter, but to see which martial art was most effective in a straight-up fight. As a result of this, founder Rorion Gracie wanted the fights in the UFC to be as close to street fights as possible. And so there are only 3 rules. No biting, no eye gouging, and no groin shots. That's it. This meant instances such as kicking or stomping a grounded fighter in the head, kicking and punching an opponent in the back of the head, kicking the kidneys, spitting, and even headbutting were all completely legal. There were also no regulations on things such as gloves or gum shields, which led to Art Jimerson's infamous one boxing glove look, and also backfired heavily on Dutch kickboxer Gerard Gordeau, as in one of the most iconic moments of the event, in which Gordeau brutally knocked out Hawaiian sumo wrestler Taylor Tuli and sent one of his teeth flying into the crowd, he also got one of Taylor's teeth lodged in his foot. The only thing crazier than this is that Gordeau still went on to fight 2 more times that night. UFC 1 was the first event of its kind, and so the fighters competing really had no idea what to expect, and were kept in the dark up until the day before the tournament. The evening before the event, all the fighters came together with the owners to sign contracts and discuss how it will be run. When the fighters were informed that there are only 3 rules, it caused confusion and even outrage. Each of these fighters were coming from different competitive backgrounds, each with their own very different and specific rule sets and traditions. The fighters bombarded the organisers with questions and accusations about the rules and regulations for the event, with kickboxer Zane Frazier even going as far to say that the event was being rigged in favour of Rorion Gracie's brother Royce. There was still no clear resolution or consensus reached, and it looked like some of the fighters were having second thoughts. With the event so close, there would be no time at all to gather any replacements, and UFC 1 would be over before it even started. However, help came in an unlikely form, as Taylor Tuli, who still had teeth left at this time, calmed the mood of the room by reminding everyone that they were just there to fight. This seemed to strike a chord with everyone in the room, and they decided to cooperate so that this legendary event could go ahead. UFC 1 was an 8-man tournament, with each competitor representing a different martial art. One of these martial arts was obviously Jiu-Jitsu, and founder Rorion Gracie asked his extended family to represent the sport in the tournament. The family elected Rickson Gracie, who was widely considered the best grappler in the decorated and successful Gracie family. He had competed professionally before and had never lost a submission grappling match. However, as it got closer to the event, tensions grew between Rorion and Rickson. With Rorion the eldest but Rickson being the champion of the family, Rorion began to feel challenged as the head of this tight-knit family. Eventually, Rickson became unhappy with the fact that he still had to answer to his older brother, and left to start his own gym, furthering the rift between the two. Following this, Rorion no longer wanted Rickson to compete at UFC 1, and chose his younger and far less physically imposing brother Royce. Rorion reasoned that this would make better TV, as Royce's unassuming appearance would be received far better by the public. He was right. Royce went on to win the tournament, and emphatically put both Jiu-Jitsu and MMA on the map. He is widely considered one of the most influential MMA fighters of all time, and a legend of the sport. It's crazy to think that if it wasn't for this small family spat, the sport may never have been the same. One of the most outrageous and just simply dangerous things about UFC 1 was that there were only 3 ways a fight could be stopped: by knockout, submission, or by a corner throwing in the towel. Yes, this meant that the referee was not allowed to step in and stop the fight at all. While this doesn't seem like the worst thing at first, when you think about it in the context of today's UFC, you realise just how crazy it could be. If the referee could not step in and help out, You could imagine certain corners, especially in big fights such as title fights or grudge matches, refusing to throw in the towel, scared that they stopped their fight on the off chance that their fighter could weather the storm and claw it back. It's likely we'd see a lot more instances like the gruesome end to round 3 of Weidman vs Rothko at UFC 194. This barbaric rule could have had potentially catastrophic effects on the health of fighters, and it really shows just how crazy the early days of the UFC really were.